All right, we're recording.
Welcome to the Doylestown Township Environmental Advisory Council meeting for March 9th, 2021. Welcome to everyone who's on, and I think we may include a few more people before we're done. It's wonderful to see you all. So please raise your hand if you had a little bit of outside time today.
Yeah.
What a beautiful day.
We've
been waiting for this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just fabulous. Okay, we have so much going on. Let's get right to it. Let's see, is that you, Colleen? Welcome, Colleen Mullen.
Hi,
is
thank
here.
you.
Good. I don't know if you have the agenda in front of you. Were you able to download that as well?
I did see that. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes. Okay, we're going to be
Yes.
following the agenda, and you're up right away.
great, thank you.
Sure. And let's see, Marty is not here. Tanya will not be here tonight.
Okay.
And Kara Raymond will be here. Okay, good. Is Stephanie on or no?
No,
Fair enough.
not tonight. She's
Okay.
been teaching at Del Valle this night.
Oh, that's right. Thanks, Aaron. Okay, well then let's rock and roll. So minutes approval for the meeting, which was held on February 9th. Jim, they were so thorough, so detailed. Is there any question or comment about the minutes? Okay, may we have a motion to approve them?
I make a motion we
I
approve
have
the minutes.
one question.
Oh, sorry, Anne.
I think it was on the cost for the tree signs. My understanding was it was $400 per sign and then $750 each for the pedestal and frame. So $2,300, not $2,500. Is that right?
Oh, okay.
That's actually going to change as of tonight anyway, Anne.
Oh, then never mind, Jim.
Yeah, yeah, we're
Okay.
going to hear, there's a change in the cost. Aaron
Okay.
will address that a little
Sorry.
bit. later.
I didn't know about that.
No, I know you didn't. Anybody else about the minutes then?
I thought they looked good. I could make a
Thank you.
motion.
Please.
Motion to accept the minutes.
And second,
I'll second.
okie dokie, all who approve? Aye.
Aye.
Thanks again, Jim. Jim, you good for taking minutes tonight again?
Yes, I'll do the minutes.
Okay,
no
are you
problem.
home or in Vermont or someplace else?
I just got home,
Okay, well, welcome back.
Thank
And you picked a nice day to get home. Well, budget review. Looks to me like we have a full budget. Hi, Kara, welcome. Kara, hi, good. Does, any comments about the budget? There really wasn't any change from last month.
It's full, so yeah.
And no money's been spent.
No, we have not spent any. That may change tonight. We'll see. Okay, new business. I'd like to get right to Colleen Mullen. Colleen has, she is a member of the Township's Ways and Means Committee and also the Pension Review Board. And she has an idea about yard waste in this township and leaf pickup. And she'd like to share it with our EAC. And Anne?
Yes.
You had expressed an interest in this subject as well, so
Yep.
let's
I'm
hear.
just getting a pen so I can write notes.
Okie dokie. Let's hear what Colleen has to say. Colleen, you're on.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate everyone taking some time tonight to have a listen. And just, yes, as Janine had mentioned, I am on the Ways and Means Committee. Dan may have heard me speak. I think I actually emailed Dan and Jen Herring one Sunday afternoon in the fall when I was wrestling with weeds in my yard. And having been a resident now, I think I'm going on 7 years, just would like to see if it's something we can offer as a service for our township residents. We currently don't. And I know most of our residents, or many, probably are in the same boat where we have, a decent size piece of yard and trees because we live in such a beautiful place. And it can be difficult, even if you try to compost, on your own property with your own yard waste, it can be difficult to manage. So I just was thinking perhaps we could set up a program where there's a collection, even if it's once a year or in spring and fall, maybe 2 times a year. And certainly it all depends on budget and appetite, I think, for this kind of service. But could we find a space in our park system to compost the waste, then turn around and either give it back away to residents for their gardens, or even businesses to use if there's landscaping businesses, or sell it back to maybe cover some of the cost of collection? I would think, just what I know of our budget and capacity for staff in our township, it would probably make sense to outsource the collection part to a company that has the equipment to handle that. And I did a little research, and I don't know if I could share my screen. But all I did, and I don't even need to share it really, I just, let me just pull up. I saved a few websites for local townships, and this was just a quick Google search. And I stopped searching after 5 minutes. I saved, let's see, Northampton Township, Newtown Square, Abington, East Norriton, Horsham, and even in the borough. You know, townships are offering this kind of service to their residents, you know, at least once or twice a year. So I think I would, and I asked Stephanie about it, and Dan and Jen agreed, you know, go to EAC. That's the committee that we need to really vet this through. So I'm really just asking your help and your opinions, and see if it's something we want to take up. That's really where we are with it.
Okay, let's
So,
discuss.
yeah.
Let's hear what members have to say.
Hey, Colleen,
I
I'm
think-
Heidi. I just want to say I think it's a great idea. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, no, I mean, composting is always a good idea. There's no question about it. I think, I'm sure we all do it in our own yards. I have no idea what the logistics are for doing this on a large scale. I know that, I believe that the township does compost now, but you have to drop stuff off. And
Right.
they will
Correct.
compost it.
Right.
And then, but, you know, if this were to increase by, you know, by, let's say, threefold, I mean, if it became a, you know, service, and it was to increase, you know, dramatically, would we have space to do it? I have no idea what the logistics are.
Right.
So, you know, I would be certainly supportive in principle, but again, it would depend a lot on what, you know, what the costs and contingencies are.
Colleen, my screen says Phil Rollhauser, that's my husband, but this is Ann.
Okay.
And that's a project that I've been thinking about for a very long time. So I had offered to work with you if it's decided that we're going to move forward on this. There is certainly a composting area, a large composting area at the township at Central Park
Right.
now. I think the bigger problem, it may not be volume. Well, the part of that may be volume, but the bigger thing may be township staff, especially for that group, the grounds people. There's only 3 guys and they're stretched already.
Yeah.
And they need this composting machine is gigantic. I mean, it's not something that a homeowner would be able to or should be near, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it would have to be staff doing it. So I think if EAC agrees that this is a project we should at least find out more about, I think what we should do, you and I should do, is schedule a meeting with Dave Tomko, who's Director of Operations, and just see what he thinks, because it would be his staff, his
Mhm.
time, and potentially money from his budget to support a program like this. I
Right.
love the idea of the program. Yes.
Right.
This
Okay.
is Kurt Sawyer. We have, our church is in the borough, and the borough does this. And it's a really excellent service. But they do have specialized equipment to do it. I mean, essentially they go around with a huge vacuum cleaner,
Mhm.
truck, you know, a truck that is essentially a huge vacuum cleaner with a giant tube on it. And all you do is you move your leaves out the curb and come by and vacuum them up. And they come by twice in the fall, sort of once early and once late. And, you know, they publish a schedule ahead of time so that every address knows when they will be coming by that area. And, you know, at our church, we just mount a big effort to push all the leaves to the curb where they're going to drive by and then they just come by and suck them all up. So it's a terrific service. People in the borough love that, but it does require specialized equipment and a crew that operates it, and they do it on a rotating basis for the borough. So this Saturday they're coming by this address, and then next week they're coming by this address, and so there's a fair amount of logistics, and there is specialized equipment in order to set up to do this. Now, with that said, I think this is something you contract out.
Right.
There are undoubtedly firms out there that have that kind of equipment and the people that run it.
Right.
Kurt, can I ask you so obviously there's an abundance of leaves. Does the compost get used? Does it go? What happens to the compost? How does supply match demand?
It does. And actually we had this same kind of service when we lived in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin took way more stuff. I mean, just leaves and branches and just all kinds of stuff and ground it all up. And I mean, literally they'd take all kinds of stuff. And then homeowners just went with trailers and picked up compost when they wanted it.
Yeah.
From
I was
the site.
hoping even, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. Go right ahead, Colleen.
Yeah. Well, it occurred to me that maybe even some local farmers would be interested in the material. So if we have volume, but the goal is, as Jim had indicated, at least in my mind, to close the loop. I don't want to just collect everything and have it go to waste if possible.
Right.
And I think, Kurt, you're right. I think it's something we would have to outsource. And Ann, we'll definitely talk to Dave.
Yeah.
I think he would agree. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he would agree.
Yeah.
We'll probably make his head explode if we try to put this kind of project in his lap, but he's open-minded.
The volume looks huge when they collect it,
Right.
but 10 weeks later, it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
I had another property that was just covered with trees. And one year we had it hauled away and it was 11 truckloads.
Wow.
And I said, okay, we're not doing that anymore. And I started mulching it. And literally that 11 truckloads mulched down onto my lawn.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Once it breaks down, it's actually not very big. It's just the
Right.
collection of the leaves while they're still intact is just a huge volume. It's like, moving lampshades around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we are encouraging homeowners to mulch their leaves,
Yes.
keep the leaves on their own property. So I think for me anyway, the bigger question might be other yard waste, not necessarily just leaves, but some of the other stuff. We have maple, a lot of my big trees are maples. They're
Mhm.
shedding constantly something. There's always something raining down from them.
Yeah.
I was picking up branches today, small branches today.
Mhm.
And it's sort of a constant thing. And we have an area that we passively compost, but we don't have a large area for that. So we overwhelm it through the season. And that's where I think, maybe a lot of people are in that particular situation and could really use having a pickup.
Well, we're actually the reverse. Candy's always out looking for other people's leaves because we compost all of our household garbage, and we have too much green and not enough brown. And so Candy's down at the
need to drink
neighbors
more
gathering
coffee.
up their leaves.
Well, we may be able to do a deal with you, Kurt.
I think one of the things that's good about this idea is it sounds like there are many other townships and programs locally that would be a good framework to research and get some input on costs and, subcontractors before it's presented, so that, there's some information rather than just a request for them to figure it out. Because there seem to be a lot of models available for how it gets done on a larger scale than just the borough.
And clearly,
I
Colleen, you
agree.
came to the right place. Obviously, we are supporting the idea.
Yeah.
And I have to echo what Kurt said. I lived in the borough for 4 years, and it was great to be able to rake your leaves onto the curb. And then that big machine came around, the leaves disappeared, You knew they were going to be composted. It's such a win-win. And when I
Right.
moved into the township 25 years ago, that was one of the things I was looking for. I think, why isn't that happening here? You know, so I think that you and Ann and Dave Tomko will, I think, follow up our discussion with another meeting, and we'll put it on the agenda again in April. Does that sound fair?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep. In the
Okay.
meantime, Colleen, you and I can coordinate via email and see if we could do some background work on what goes on in other townships, costs, and how they do it.
Yeah, I'm happy to contribute where I can.
Good.
And I think it'll give us some efficiency where, you know, ultimately if we can come to the board with an idea and I think, you know, have it framed out, like you said, and understand budgetary, you know, implications. And to
Right,
me,
yeah,
if we
that-
can go to them and say, this is probably a good ballpark, can we find the money? And that's ultimately, I think, the best way to get it, you know, moving. So I appreciate everyone taking the time tonight and having a listen and coming up with some great ideas. I love the creativity and the teamwork. So I look forward to moving it along.
Great. Thanks, Colleen.
I'll
That's
just say one thing from the board of supervisors perspective.
Yeah,
I know I'm fine with the idea, but there's going to be what's the benefit to the residents, which, oh, well, they get their lease picked up. There's going to be a lot of, well, what are they doing now? They seem to be fine with what's happening now. Why do we need to spend money on this? So that's kind of the pitch you'll have to make for this.
Well, in my neighborhood where there are about 50 houses, people have these people, they hire people to come in. I know you all know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Big, noisy vacuum cleaners and leaf blowers, and then they outgo the leaves. And I asked somebody one time, where are those leaves going? Apparently they sell them to Sparks or places like Sparks. So
Mhm.
those leaves are getting composted by most of the responsible people who pick up the leaves. But you know, for weeks in the fall, this constant leaf blowing and picking up is taking place. I really do think, Dan, that residents would respond well to this if they realize that they may not have to hire somebody to come in and suck up all those leaves, some of them more than once in the fall.
Yeah, and that may well be the case. And that, I mean, talking about what individuals are hiring, if they're willing to pay a little bit more in their taxes for it, but save money on leaf removal, that's kind of the thought for the pitch. I'm just trying to think of what I would hear on the board bringing it up and what I would think other members are going to think about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Give you an idea what to think about.
No, that's great, Dan. Thank you. And I thought, I mean, there is another component is if it gets composted and then mulch or compost is available to residents, that's another add-on benefit that would, you know, be a positive, at least from the residents' point of view. I don't know
Yeah,
if the board would care, but
yeah. I mean, I think we could take a look and just do sort of an informal study of what does the average homeowner spend on, you know, privately on leaf removal. And if we can scale that for them and we have economies of scale and purchasing power, and then what is the average, you know, household who invests in their landscaping? What do they invest in mulching every year? And again, if we can, you know, make economies of scale happen, then we can show that they would have a savings, you know, and residents may appreciate, you know, saving a little money so it's not a big cost every year individually. I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked at numbers, but I think there's some ways we can, you know, break the data down and find the right data and present it. So
And yes,
I
and
can try to put
we'll have
some
to
things
sell the
together.
idea. Yeah, we'll sell it and we'll help you.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
thanks again. And Dan, thanks for your input. We need that.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Yeah, you need to put our realistic hats on.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes we're a little pie in the sky.
I just think, what am I going to hear from somebody about it?
Yeah, he's gonna hear it. Yeah.
and you will, yes.
Yeah.
You know, we will too.
You have to keep
Okay,
us grounded.
moving on. I'm going to move on the agenda now because we have so much else to cover. But
Okay,
thank you.
I'm gonna sign out. Not that I don't love what you guys do on your committee, but I'll let you do your thing without me being interloping here. So I do appreciate everyone's time and I'll let you get to it.
Okay, thanks. But
I'll
you're
contact you,
Thanks,
Colleen.
Colleen.
Thank you. Thanks,
you're welcome
Ann.
to come
Okay.
back.
thanks
We'll
for
see you
thinking
again
of
in
me.
April then.
All right, I'll put it on my calendar.
Good, okay,
All right, take care.
sure.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks. Well, next on the agenda is Arbor Day, and I know, Aaron, you can help us go through this. Arbor Day is April 24th. Is that correct? I got that right.
That's correct.
And the EAC budget will not be tapped for the purchase of trees, correct?
No, and we have set a budget of $500 for Arbor Day because we will have another planting later in the year, which
Right.
will be larger.
And these are coming out of another piece of the township budget.
Correct.
Okay. Third,
Aaron,
Yeah.
have you worked with Bucks Beautiful to get money that way?
Yes, so we're going to be working with them, in fact, on our larger project.
yes, and
Not for
I've
the-
already
okay.
reached out to the board of directors over there and had a good discussion, and
Right.
they're both they're in line with us doing because we're going to do some planting along where the tornado hit and get some of that repaired, and we're going to use the majority of our budget there. However, that's going to have to be later in the year, and Arbor Day has a requirement to be within April.
Right, okay.
so Aaron, can you address the planting of maybe some evergreens, perhaps pine trees in the Environmental Education Center for the April planting?
Yeah, so I actually come up with a list of quite a few options, to be honest. And I kind of cross-checked that list, and between natives, not all of these are natives, but I've tried to cross-check it between natives and then deer-resistant species. Those where it gets, the mix becomes hard, because once you do that comparison, you don't end up with a lot of evergreens on the list. So
There
then
is-
you have to
there
start
aren't
worrying
many to
about
choose from. Mm-mm.
deer guards. And I would like to avoid that expense if possible. So we could maximize this budget on the actual plantings.
Well, unfortunately, I think deer guards are the cost of doing business. I mean, we're just overrun with deer. I think if we don't invest in the protection of the trees, it's going to be wasted money. We've learned that year after year, unfortunately.
Well,
You can check, there were deer guards already, the township owns some, I believe.
I'll have to, I'll check with Paul and
Yeah.
Chris and see if I
Paul.
can't dig some up.
Yeah,
And if I am able to dig some up, I know we are, my probably preference would be to do a white pine, if I can find some of those.
Eastern red cedar is a wonderful and deer resistant native tree, and it's evergreen.
and it's taprooted.
It's really a
Right.
good alternative. We could do both white pine and Eastern red cedar, mix them up, naturalize them. That is a possibility. Maybe even a few American hollies.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're-
What
they're
size
red.
tree were you looking at?
These would be 1 gallon pot plants, so
pretty
these would be
small.
on the younger side.
Yeah.
Where are they going exactly?
So
Where are
that's
where are they being planted?
that is completely up to consideration. From the township side, if you wanted to put them near the native plant garden, that's fine. But there's also many other areas and other parks that have had birch devastations that could have plantings as well.
Aaron, how many trees do you think we'll be able to plant in April?
My guess is probably around 10 or 12, so not a large number.
Right, it's not that many. It's the small planting, and then we'll do a larger planting in the fall.
Okay.
But let's just pause on that for a moment. I did have a chance to meet with Chris Mason down at the garden area yesterday, because we switched up the display case.
Mhm.
And there are some places near the garden, but between the garden area and the townhouses, where we could easily put some evergreens. They would, if they survive, they'd create a much needed evergreen look in areas around that garden that are almost completely deciduous trees. So it is possible that we just put 3 over here and 3 over here and 3 over here, you know, or 6 here and 6 there. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's a good plan.
Mhm.
Is it also like a kind of filling in areas where the ash trees have come down?
There are a lot of
Yep,
ash trees that
yep.
are continually being removed in the Environmental Education Center too.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, it's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
Sure.
So is there any objection? Does anybody object to putting these little evergreens in the Environmental Education Center area?
No. Do you
Yeah.
want a motion?
I don't know if we need a motion, do we?
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Aaron, is that okay with you?
That's fine by me.
Okay, so April 24th, is that the day?
Yep.
That's correct.
And somebody has to read the proclamation?
Yes, we'll have a proclamation. We need to do a sign in. We'll also be using social media to advertise it to hopefully get additional volunteers.
Okay, so if
We
we
want volunteers for planting, or are we doing the planting?
I would hope to have both.
Okay.
yeah, I think both. Yeah, let's see what we can do. I can put out the call. I'll talk more about that later, but I can put out the call to get some help too if I need to.
Okay.
All right, so it looks like Arbor Day might be, the April Arbor Day then is pretty well set. What about the fall Arbor Day in the tornado hit area?
Yeah.
So Stephanie is still waiting for PennDOT to get back to her to set up the kind of timeline, because they do have to go through and do some cleanup in that area. And then they also have to approve us going on their property.
So are you going to be working with PennDOT to select the trees and buy the trees, or is that their job?
By and large, it's going to have to be by committee on that. So we will not have as much choice of it. And so there will be some discussion to it, but I don't think there will be much leeway with it.
Okay, you know, I was did I email you this, Aaron, that as I was driving on the 202 Parkway recently, I saw all these Eastern red cedars. It's awesome. They just keep on spreading like mad. And you know, if we just encourage PennDOT to continue with them because they're deer resistant and they're a native, you know, that would be at least one choice that I would encourage.
Okay.
You know, and they're good along roadways. So anybody else? Okay.
Are they looking just to do evergreens?
By and large there, yeah. One of the goals is to, you know, I believe had Leland's there before, was to, you know, repair that kind of visual and audio buffer.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And of course, white pines, you know, they wouldn't be near buildings. So, and they get enormous.
Yes, they do.
And they're quick
Yeah.
growers. Yeah.
Yeah. So we could also encourage them. Okay, thanks. EAC 2020 annual report to the board. I sent it to everybody just because I thought you should know what I said, you know, and look at what I wrote, because, you know, that's my job and I'll do it. But so I hope everybody who wanted to took a look at it, and thank you very much. But
Well
That's
done,
great,
well
Janine.
done.
Yeah,
thanks.
well done.
It's a done deal, and I'm not sure, did the board see it yet, Dan?
We have not seen it. It'll probably be in our packet this weekend.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Dan, there was a list emailed to you out by Stephanie to the
I
board.
may have missed it
Most
'cause my
folks haven't had a
email's been
chance to
weird.
look at it yet.
Yeah, my email's been weird with the transition over, so it's possible it got
That's
lost in my shuffle somewhere.
exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, between you and Ed Ebenbach, boy, you guys do a great job. So thanks
Thank
for
you.
all that. Yeah, because
Yeah,
it
thank
turned
you.
out well. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
it turned out great.
multiple angles and intercutting with other materials. It was fabulous. It was fun. So, all right, good. So we have a lot of ongoing business and subcommittees, including the updated strategic plan, which you all received. I hope you all had a chance to study it. Heidi, it's just like so wonderful to have that.
Well, thanks, Janine.
And
Did we want to go review it a little bit of the tasks that still haven't been addressed?
I think we have to say what we think about it. I feel like I wanted to print it out, but it's long. You know,
I did print
I
it.
didn't print it. But, and I wish I had, because then I could, mark it up. But I don't think we need to do that particularly. I think we should hear from our members about any input they have. I'm happy with it. And of course, we're going to I guess next year we'll be writing a new one for the next couple of years. Is that the plan?
Right. I'm just wondering about some of the tasks that we still haven't addressed this year. I thought maybe we should take maybe 5-10 minutes looking at those tasks that are still not have been addressed. And if we want to even address them still, maybe there are things that we really just want to cast to the side. What do you think? Okay, maybe spend 5-10 minutes on that.
Sure, I
Yeah.
think we should.
Yeah.
Erin, can you share my screen? I can put it up.
Let me see. Um, I'm not sure. Let's see. Is there something we can do and come back while I try to figure it out, how to give you meeting control?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure.
Jump ahead.
We'll circle back. We'll circle back to it.
Aaron, let us know.
Okay.
We'll get right back to it when you tell us that you're ready. Okay. Let's move on to deer management and an EAC Deer Summit. Salisbury Township had to postpone their deer inventory. I spoke to Eric Allen about that. And they, because of the snow, the deer weren't moving around as much. So they had to postpone their deer inventory, which they're doing with an infrared camera and a drone at night. They hired a firm to do that. So Salisbury Township is doing a real inventory of their deer population. And of course, the deer move all around. So that's going to be interesting when that data comes out. And Heidi, didn't you want to address this? Because
Sure.
you also sent us some stuff. Go.
Well, so this kind of goes back to when I was, president at Bucks Audubon. Salisbury came to us asking, that we should do a hunt at Bucks Audubon. And my issue was that really it's a county-wide issue. At the very least, we should get Central Bucks townships and municipalities involved with this issue. And I told that to Eric as well. And so recently I was at the Bucks County Birders meeting, and we had a fabulous speaker. His name is Jay. He's a professor at Raritan Community College. His presentation was incredible. It was super informative, really explaining the impact that deer have on the forest, and then in turn with birds. So it was just a very powerful presentation. I think it's very informative. It's a really great way to get started with this whole issue county-wide or even Central Bucks-wide. So I sent the information to Janine. I just think this is a way to go, really, to start here. This is a great guide to start with. It's a great presentation. And what we could do is send it to all of you guys for you to review it. I can't remember if I sent it to all of you or not.
Did
I? Okay, good. And actually, Jay is working with Eric. He's the one who's actually doing the drone survey for him.
Oh, fabulous. Then, okay, this is a natural then. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's a natural. So how should we proceed then?
Oh, I think the very least is, having a summit, having Jay come and do his presentation for all the EACs that want to be involved with this, and just start there. Maybe he offers some solutions of what can be done. And really what it comes down to is doing some kind of, of calling of the deer, but talking about all the different steps that involves and the pros and cons to every approach. But I think we need to have a discussion about it. I think this presentation is a great way to get started. He's very informative. He's doing amazing research. It's very powerful and scientific based. And I think it's a good way to start the conversation.
Heidi, do you know, does he charge a fee for his talks?
I don't know. I don't think, I don't know. That's something that I can find out. I can reach out to him and see. At the very least, if we have several EACs involved, maybe we can share in the cost. But let me check with Jay first and see what he charges and get back with you.
The actual inventory is very expensive. It's $15,000.
Wow.
So that's the approximate cost that I'm remembering from Eric Allen. I also have to just footnote this by saying that Eric and I tried to make an appointment with Kevin Spencer, who is the county director of operations. Heidi, I know you know him.
Right.
He worked with us for the Meadow Management Workshop. And we asked him if we could just sit down and talk about the possibility of a county-wide event about deer management. He never responded to either of us.
Wow.
So it's probably either too hot to handle or something else. So I think starting with an EAC summit with multiple EACs involved would be a good thing. And perhaps we can put together a group of EAC people from various municipalities who may request a meeting on the county level, because it is a whole regional problem. It's not a Doylestown Township issue.
Right,
So
I agree.
let's have a plan for follow-up.
Okay, I think, so I'll get the information about Jay, see how much it costs, and then, we, probably should start thinking about a date that we can do this. And I think, just start slow and low. It really is about education, getting people educated about this, getting the public involved as well. But first start with the AACs, see how many people are on board with this issue, and then move from there.
Okay, don't forget that Jim's article in the Doylestown Township newsletter struck a nerve with a few people. And, that we're going to have resistance when it comes to calling the deer herds, but, we've got to be realistic, and people need to be educated about what the deer are doing to the understory, to the wild, to the plants. All you see are big trunks and nothing next to them. Why? Because the deer are eating everything. So, yeah. All right. So thank you, Heidi. So you're going to follow up. And then again, that will also be on the April agenda again then.
Okay.
Because by that, by that time, the Salisbury Township inventory should be finished, and we should get some data.
Good. Excellent. And it'll be interesting to see how many deer they actually do have per square mile in Salisbury. That's a good starting point, informing ourselves is a way to go, educating and informing ourselves about this issue. It's going to take a while to, address it, but this is a good start.
Yep. Thanks. Okay.
Sure. So Erin, I see that you said I can share my screen. So let's go, circle back if that's okay, Janine, to the strategic plan. Is that okay?
Yes.
Let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me just pull this up. So so I did a review just to kind of make it a little easier because the strategic plan is a bit long. And so I just thought we should talk about the tasks that have not been addressed yet, that still need to be addressed. And it's organized by 4 different topic areas. So the first one, let's see, is about promoting and recommending important policy directives to the BOS, or the Board of Supervisors. So that includes RF 100 plans for exploring funding for the EV charging station. Jim, I think you're looking into this already, right?
Well, yes, and I can tell you that I met with Stephanie and Aaron and Dave and the staff, and there wasn't a lot of enthusiasm for this at this point. I think Dave's point to us was he'd love to see a broader plan, which gets to your next point.
So Jim, let me break in. I did more digging after we had our meeting with you. In PA, there's a program called Drive Forward that's funded by that VW settlement.
Right.
There currently exists a 90-10 grant split to install at least 2 electric vehicle chargers on public space that the township would operate. We're in very early stages with discussions with the county, but it does look like that is something that we are going to, myself and Stephanie will be putting together into a memo to actually present to the board coming up in April.
Okay, that's
So,
good news.
Wonderful.
And the county has actually agreed to help out with the application and everything as well. So it will be pretty cost efficient for us as a township.
That's
wonderful.
That's good news. That's good news. Okay. All right, Heidi, we ticked one off. Let's fix the next one.
Okay, the next one is recommending the hiring of an energy planner for the energy transition plan. I think this is something that will go on our next strategic plan. This is really not going to happen this year. Am I right about that, Jim?
Well, again, let me say that I feel guilty that I haven't organized the subcommittee recently, and I know that Kurt is putting some effort into this, and there's some other things going on which we'll talk about later. This is something that is important to me. I just don't have the time to get to it yet. So yes, it will be an ongoing activity.
Okay. So
I can add to that point as well that I actually have a policy intern as well that I have actually doing some exploring to renewable alternatives and its cost to the township in terms of transitioning towards that. In particular, we're looking into Springfield in Montgomery and then Swarthmore down in Delaware. Swarthmore just transitioned their entire township-owned properties to renewable natural gas energy through the energy co-op.
Okay. Aaron, I would, if you want me to be involved, or if there's something I can do to help you with that, please don't hesitate to call on me.
No, thank you, Jim.
But yes, this is going to be a bigger project, and it's I'll just tell you all that I'm planning to retire in August of this year, and my plan is to spend
Yes.
a lot more time on this in the second half of this year.
Congratulations, Jim. That's exciting.
Yeah, good
That's
for you.
great. That's great. Thanks, Jim. I'm glad you
That's
made that
wonderful.
decision. It's not an easy decision, but man, it's a
Let's
good one.
postpone everything till August now.
Well, no, Aaron, thank you so much for working forward with all the,
Yeah.
these two initiatives for us. That's fantastic. That's awesome. Okay, let's move on.
And
So the next
one
part,
other point, I have plugged in with Aaron's intern now, and we
Okay.
are collaborating. I've got the spreadsheet pulled together, which I will be sending to Ray tomorrow. So I think we're going to have a robust set of recommendations, some of which may be, these power purchase agreements, but there may also be other kinds of alternatives that we will flesh out and decide that those are better alternatives. So.
Great.
yeah, fantastic.
Wonderful.
Great. Yay, I'm
That's
so glad
great.
it's moving forward. Good job, guys. That's awesome. Okay, so the next part is our under strategies number 2, which is to educate the public about the environment. So this, a couple of things we haven't covered there are explore funding for the removal of fragmites from basins in Central Park. Jenny?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I don't know if we're going to need funding. I think that when I tell you more about what's going on with the native plant demonstration garden, I think we may have enough labor to handle that ourselves.
Ooh,
So
good.
just a little footnote. I'm not positive yet, but I don't think we have to explore funding.
Okay, great. So this is something that we still might get to this year then.
I don't know if we're going to get to the removal, maybe in 2022. We have a lot going on down there.
But
at
can I
least-
ask,
Go ahead.
Janine,
Yes.
this kind of activity, if as I understand it, is not just once and done, right? It has to be an ongoing activity because these things are pretty tenacious,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So I think we should, think about it as a process rather than just a tick box.
I think that it's the funding that we won't need. I think,
I see. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
certainly we have to work, and it's not going to be a one and done. But I do think that the funding piece of it may not be necessary.
Okay, I think that was the real crux here, is addressing the funding part. So that's great that we don't have to address that this year.
Yeah,
And
we
like
don't-
you said, Jim, it's an ongoing project.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be years, actually.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, the next thing is offering a film screening of Catching the Sun at Del Valle University. Jim, do you think we still need to offer this as a film for educating the people, our residents?
I don't think so. I have to tell you, I did see it. I wasn't that impressed with it. Frankly, it was kind of depressing, actually.
It is.
It was that guy Van Jones, kind of getting run over the coals for trying to do something. It was kind of a cautionary tale in my mind. So I personally wouldn't push this that hard.
Okay, all right, so we'll
It
just put this
has
off to
been
the side then.
shown. That
It has
film
been
has
shown.
been
Yes,
shown
it
in
has
the
been
area.
shown.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I showed it at Bucks Audubon. We
Yeah.
had a showing
It's
there
been at
with
the county.
Bill
It's
Sabby.
been at
Yeah.
Del Valle. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
I
Very
will add
good.
one note into here. Janine, this last month, I did receive permission to broadcast downstream on our local TV channels, which would also give us rights to do showings of that film as well.
Oh.
It's
That's
a nice,
interesting.
it's a nice little film. You can access it from the township website. So, and as Aaron said, he got permission to share it. So
Okay.
it's good. It's decent.
it's informative, it puts everything in perspective.
Mhm.
Okay, so, all right, good. So who will be continuing to provide photos for the look what's blooming in the garden? Is that something that Aaron, you'll be continuing to do that like Andrea did?
Yeah, my hope is to actually increase EAC's use of social media here,
Good.
so that we're able to, get a reach beyond just the boards in the park, and I really want to focus in on Instagram in particular for EAC, and I think that's an excellent vehicle for that kind of outreach. Including taking pictures of flowers as they bloom down there and putting those up online and stuff of that nature.
Okay.
We have a volunteer at the garden who has suggested something that I'll be bringing up later, and it would facilitate the use of Instagram to broadcast what's blooming in that garden. So we'll mention that later, but yeah, let's do it. Let's use Instagram. Let's get those photographs out there.
Does
Wonderful.
EAC currently post on either the Doylestown page or the Doylestown Neighbors United page? Because I don't ever remember seeing anything on there, and there are a lot of people on both of those pages.
Aaron?
I don't believe so. Stephanie tends to do more of those activities, so I'll have to see, touch base. I know she does a Google Groups and sometimes Patch, but I'm not sure about those particular groups.
Because Doylestown Neighbors United does a lot of postings about things that are going on in the community. It doesn't allow politics, which I'm grateful for, because there's so much of that. But there is a lot from like nonprofits and other things going on. There's also, I don't know, those two come to mind. There's other ones that come to mind, but I just think it would increase community awareness because Facebook is a place that a lot of people go.
I agree. I think it's a good idea, Kara.
Aaron,
Okay.
can you make a note of that and see if Stephanie will go along with posting on those sites as well?
Yeah, I can definitely touch base.
Okay, thanks. And
Okay, so let me continue. The next one is identify other birders to offer bird walks. I'm still checking on that with Bucks County Birders. I really haven't had to do this because Diane Smith has still been working with us. The next thing is promoting environmental awareness in the local schools. We are doing this, I feel like, so maybe this doesn't need to be included in here. Is there anything that we need to do more, Janine?
Well, we haven't been able to do anything because of the pandemic.
Right.
So
on hold. Yeah.
We have had some events. I'd like to see more. But the Habitat Walk in May with second graders is something that I was doing. And I've also worked with and Heidi, you did too, with the AP Environmental Science Group from CB West. But those things have fallen aside because of the pandemic. I am convinced that unless we loop more kids into environmental awareness, we're doomed. So
I agree.
This to me is so critical. And what else can we do right now? Probably not too much. If the kids are back in school in May, at the end of May, I hope I can take those second graders out for a habitat walk. But that's only one grade. It's, one walk all year. It's not much.
But the high schools also have environmental clubs as well. And it seems like there'd be an affinity there for us to meet with them, and we could learn from them. They could learn from us.
Remember, I was working with Bill Lacopoli.
Yeah.
That
was wonderful. That was terrific.
It was great. And, but that's all kind of fizzled out for now.
Yeah.
It needs to be on our plan. We need to get back into the schools as much
Maybe
as
by the fall
I think personally
semester.
this is very important.
Janine, can I just make one suggestion? I seem to be surrounded where I live with teachers, and I know kids are learning at home, but it would be something that could happen outdoors. And by May, I mean, if you plan now, I don't think the kids not being in school would prohibit parents from bringing kids to something outdoors that they would enjoy. And, you don't have to be so COVID concerned if things are outdoors. So, there may be a chance to at least do one, or a couple, however it works in May, because it's an outdoor event.
This would require some coordination with teachers, and the only actual public school in Doylestown Township is Kutz Elementary. But I can get in touch with the teacher that I work with there and see if we can coordinate something for May. And yeah, it is an outdoor activity, and it would be great if we could expand it beyond second graders and one walk. I would love to expand it. So I'm going to make a note to myself. This is Michelle Blair.
There's also a lot of enthusiasm in young people these days about environmental policy and awareness. And somebody suggested the high school groups. You know, those groups tend to be an after school thing. Those kids can, you know, come by bicycle. They can, you know, walk, you know, to places like Central Park. You know, there are a lot of kids interested in going into environmental science. I would imagine that there might be some enthusiasm to have someone knowledgeable speak to them about local environmental things, again, outdoors.
Yeah,
I think it's really it was really about the pandemic. I mean, we, you know, like Janine mentioned, we were working with the environmental AP class at the high school. And Janine, that might be something that we can address again, is maybe putting some kind of invasive workshop together again that include the high school and adults.
Yeah, I'll get in touch with both of the teachers that we've worked with. It's Michelle Blair at Kutz and Bill Acopoli at CB West. So I'll send them an email and just kind of see if they're interested in doing something more this year, if we can do an outdoor activity. Because
Okay.
it's fun. It's fun. I love working with teenagers.
Yeah,
That's
me
what
too.
it's my job, you know. So, you know,
Same.
it's wonderful.
Okay, let's keep on going through the list. We have still quite
Yep.
a few things. Janine, you had added these things too, and I'm not sure this is the right place for them, but schedule a native plant sale and pop-up garden annually. Do you think we're going to do another one this year?
I think it would be a good thing to do in October.
Okay, I agree. Okay, so we'll address later.
Yeah.
Introduce.
Can I
Yeah.
just mention something about that? Something that Janine and I talked about is the Doylestown Arts Festival happens in September. Is that too early to do a native plant sale? Because having a booth there, I did talk to them about the notion, and booths are often free. And Janine did mention that the borough EAC might want to be a part of it as well. But they do often give free booths. I talked to Paul, who runs the Doylestown Arts Festival.
What do you
Okay,
think?
that'd be
What do
great.
you think? That would be cool. We'd have it would be good outreach, because it's a lot of people go to the arts festival.
Tons of people go to that arts festival. It's the weekend after Labor Day. So I can talk to you more about that, Heidi, if you want to know.
Kara, this might be also something that not just our EAC. Maybe we can involve other EACs as well. This
Exactly. It could be a collaborative kind of thing. So, but I'm happy to talk to you about it, because I used to volunteer to help organize the Doylestown Arts Festival. So
that'd be great. Okay, that'd be awesome. And maybe Janine, we can get involved. Your volunteers involved as well doing it.
And let's change that then from October to September or October, and make a note about the arts festival, please, in the plan.
I did. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, I didn't say. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm typing away as I can.
Okay.
Introduce and encourage participation in the new Penn State Extension Initiative watershed friendly properties. Do we have time to do that this year?
I don't know if we're going to do it this year, but it's I have the sign. I'm registered as a watershed friendly property, and I'm kind of I'm feeling my way with what to do next. But they have materials, they have signs, they have stuff we could use to publicize that. We're not in a position to do it at the moment. We're overwhelmed.
Right. I mean, it depends if we have table events coming up or not. Maybe later in the fall.
It would be great. Yeah, maybe if we have summer concerts, maybe we can get some materials and at least offer some materials at table events in the summer and fall. Good.
Okay, another one was envision enhancements to the Central Park Environmental Education Center, including tree ID tags.
Well, that's like an ongoing thing. I think we should always think about what else can encourage curiosity and excitement about the environment over there. So
I agree.
Not just tree ID tags, but I have a couple ideas I'm going to throw out later.
Okay, number 3, this was under the strategy of promoting green and sustainable initiatives. So let me just page back down here. So Janine, I think you put a framework and template together for the EAC Summit. Is there a way that you can find this again or rewrite it, or what happened to that?
It's probably, I have a new laptop. So, in that transition, I think I may have misplaced it, but I'll find it, or I'll just rewrite it. It's not that hard.
Okay.
Basically it's like a schedule, right?
Right.
What do you do when? And then you have a summit in June or so. So I'll put that on my list of things to get to. I'll either find or rewrite the summit template.
Perfect. Okay, fantastic. And then speaking of the EAC Summit, we should also, we've been wanting to include a native garden walk. So I don't know if that's going to be possible this year or not, but that's something to remember as we're putting that together. Maybe include that in the template, Janine, when you're writing it.
Will do. Okay. Yep.
Okay. We've already talked about the Deer Summit. We're working on that already. Another one was hold a toxic cleanup and recycling event. Do you think that's going to happen this year?
I can't imagine that we can do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's just too much here, I think, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Really.
I agree. So I'm going to push it on to 22.
Yeah,
And
but
we've
I
already-
think we do need to do a recycling event at some point because we have
But-
sort of let that fade back to the,
But again,
background.
the county does this at least 3 times a year, right? So there are resources.
there are resources, but I also was at a food drive earlier in the pandemic and they were doing, they had one of those giant shredder things there too. People could bring up to 3 boxes or 5 boxes of paper to be recycled or shredded and then recycled. And the line, it was unbelievable. They were scheduled 10 to 12. There were people in line at 9. And they were still letting people in at 1:30 because they just had that much people
Was
eager
it local?
to participate.
And was this local?
Yeah, it was up at what's that elementary school up by Bucks Country Gardens.
Yeah, I
can't
know,
think of
where
Oh,
you mean.
oh yeah, that big one.
It's not Groveland, is it? No,
I don't know what it is, but
I
we
think
know-
it is Groveland actually, but it was there and people were lined up for a half a mile on 611, just waiting to turn in. It was insane. So there's a lot of demand. People spent the pandemic clearing out their old files and stuff. So there was a lot of demand, I think. Whether the Doylestown Township needs to do this or not, I don't know, but that is part of our mandate. We're not just, we're not just gardens, we're also
Right.
recycling. So
Yeah.
just saying.
The purpose of, us going through this is just talking about what we're still going to try to get done this year. Maybe, one of us, maybe someone can identify themselves right now of who would like to start researching it, how to do that, like how much it would cost and so on. Maybe it's something we plan for the beginning of next year to actually do, at least start thinking about it. What do you guys think?
Is there someone who would step up and investigate this this year? Or in the next 6 months? I know I can't do it.
I can't do it.
I can't.
I'll look into it.
Okay.
Thank you,
And
Dan.
so,
I
all right.
mean, I don't really have a lot of background in this, but I'd be happy to just find out. I mean, how hard can it be?
Okay.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Seriously.
Thank you, Anne.
Working with local AUCs to install EV charging stations. We've already talked about that. We are already putting a pamphlet together about the non-toxic communities and reduction of pesticide use, which I'll talk more about later. So, and then our final strategy, number 4, which is reviewing and advising residents and the Board of Supervisors regarding plantings, recycling, parks and open space, and other pertinent environmental issues. This is our all-inclusive section. And let me just get to the bottom here. So developing a meadow restoration plan should be further planned and grants need to be researched. Has anyone been working on this at all? And what are the thoughts about this?
No, that was going to be Dawn.
Right. Okay. So do we want it on do we want to include this still in the strategic plan or push it off to next year or?
I think it's a next year thing.
Janine, I'm wondering, is that something you think Marie Carrata might be willing to volunteer to look into? That sounds like something right up her alley.
She might.
She's done a lot of restoration in the property behind her house going down.
Yeah.
She knows a lot about it. I would think she might be, a good addition in that regard.
She
You
has
know.
40 years of horticultural experience.
Yeah, well, she's
Wow.
done it for a living and she's done
Yeah.
a lot of restoration on her own property. I just was wondering if maybe you want to contact her and see if that's something she might be willing to take on before you,
Sure.
write it off.
Heidi, do you know Marie?
I do. I can reach out to her.
Would you reach out to Marie about that? Because Kara, that's a great idea. She could be a wonderful resource. I know right now she's up to her neck in the Neshaminy Greenway Trail and the Bucks County Planning Commission meetings that are coming.
Yeah.
She might be willing to pitch in with thinking about
I
meadow
believe
restoration.
she's kind of semi-retired. At least that's what she implied when she and I went walking, and she took me, to the back of her house to look down into the meadow that's there. And I don't know, it just occurs to me it's something that would kind of tickle her to get involved in.
She's a good resource.
That would be
Okay.
a good meeting also with Dave Tomko, if it
Mhm.
gets beyond just talking.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's down the road. That's definitely next year. Okay, let's try to finish these up. Develop a plan to remove invasive plants from Hart's Woods and other parts of Central Park. This is maybe parks, part of the Parks Partners Program, Janine. So just kind of leave this in here.
Yeah, leave it in. I don't know where that's going. I'll say more about it later.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Tanya's been working with Del Val and Princeton Hydro regarding the Sowerman Park work. Where are we with this?
Yeah, I think that my sense of this is that, well, I can't speak for Tanya, but my sense of it is that, state grants have dried up since the pandemic. So it's kind of probably a little bit on the back burner, but maybe Tanya will update us next month.
Okay. Okay. So check with Tanya. Next steps for meadow management and mowing reduction in the township. I haven't had much luck with reaching out, or not reaching out, but getting any information from Kevin Spencer about this. This is kind of on hold right now. I've reached out to Bucks Audubon. I'm not the president anymore, so I've kind of put, given this to the new presidents to address, and I think it's just on hold right now.
I must
So-
say, though, that Chris Mason, our park superintendent, is all about not mowing or reducing mowing. And
Good.
he is reducing mowing.
Yeah.
And so I don't think this is, it's on a very local level for our township. This is something we can continue to talk about.
Okay. So we'll leave it on the, I'm sorry.
All right, I was just thinking, isn't that sort of similar to meadow restoration plan? Wouldn't those two sort of be sort of?
No, they're pretty different. I mean, it's just really
Yeah.
reducing the
Yeah,
mowing,
there's a difference.
honestly.
Okay.
It's different.
Okay.
I mean, but they are sort of hand in hand too, Kara. There is definitely, a synergy between the two of them. Supporting and advising the township on naturalization of basins. Aaron, I know you're working on this.
Aaron, are you
Yeah,
still?
I
Yeah.
am still working on this. And I've been talking with specifically with Chris about this, and we've gotten to the weeds a bit on this because it is what I found out can be a touchy issue to some folks. Some folks like the grass basins and them to
Right.
be mowed.
Yeah.
Okay,
Some
so I'll just
people
say it's
have
working on this.
some people buy their houses with that open space behind them and with an unnaturalized basin, and that's when it does start to get growing and becomes more shrubby. That's not what they bought into, and so there are people who are very much against naturalizing basins. But again, it's an educational issue as well. So it needs to stay on. We need to think about that.
To address resident questions, this was up, and I think Janine, you answered this pretty much. It would be up to the task of the chair to identify which
Mhm.
member would be able to answer that question or
Yeah, I
give a
mean,
response.
periodically residents, I get an email or a call from somebody about something, and if somebody contacts the township, they usually send it to me and I handle it, or if somebody else can handle it better, I pass it on. But I do
Okay.
think that is a function of somebody has to be a contact person for residents and environmental issues, and I do think that's probably the chair of this group. But that doesn't
agree.
mean I have answers for everything, and it doesn't mean that I wouldn't ever, I think it's just there has to be a point person. So that's why I said it's probably me right now.
I agree. Continue to identify and encourage associate membership. Are we doing anything active with that right now?
Well, I was hoping that maybe
Well, we have Kara.
I was hoping that Kara Raymond, who
Anita,
has been attending meetings, might consider this.
I just need a review again, not in the moment right now, about what that involves, but my inclination is to say yes, because I'm just thinking as I listen in this meeting that it seems like there needs to be some more manpower to help, or people power to help get some of these very valuable projects, assigned and worked on. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
We are a little shorthanded tonight too, but yeah.
But Kara has so much experience in organizing events, carrying through with events, in the arts, in the environment, and you just have so much to offer, Kara. And I'm thrilled to hear you say that. Yes, I think we should vote. I think we should probably. This is one of those moments when I probably have to say, okay, Kara, are you willing to be an associate member of REAC?
yes, I am.
Okay, so can we just say,
Need to go away while you vote.
no, I think you can say right there.
Do we need a background check? I mean, how does this work?
How about fingerprinting? So, all right, would somebody move, make a motion about Kara being an associate member? I think we should vote on this one.
I make a motion that Kara would be an associate member of our EAC for Doylestown Township.
Is there a second?
I second that.
And so all in favor of Kara Raymond becoming an associate member of our EAC, say aye.
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 Okay, perfect. Kara, you're in.
Yay, Kara, thank you. Woohoo.
Yay. We'll have to get you, well, I'll talk to you later about some more.
Okay.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Thank you.
And then also we have Mel Scott too, who's helping me with the non-toxic pamphlet as well. So Mel Scott too, maybe we can talk about her being joining as well.
Heidi, would you ask her? Well, we're going to have a meeting sometime soon, so we could reach Mel, because she has very specific knowledge and very specific interests as well. She'd be great.
Okay, just a couple more things. Single-use plastic survey was completed in 2020. We haven't really had any other further action, but there is a lot of undertow, a lot of things going on underneath the scenes there. There's a lawsuit now that was put out by Philadelphia, Narberth, and a couple other townships against the state for putting a ban on the ban of single-use plastics. So that's very exciting. I know Silbury also sent a letter. Warrington sent a letter as well to the, the House of Representatives in our state. So also Bucks Audubon is looking to create a coalition. So I'll let you know what happens with that. But I think we still need to continue moving forward with trying to push for single-use plastics.
Heidi, should we, Doylestown Township, be sending a letter?
Dan, any thoughts about that? Has there been any discussion with the Board of Supervisors about this?
There has not. Jen and I are aware of the issue. I don't know how much the other three are really aware of it at all. I think they could stand to be educated on the results of our surveys and that kind of thing. And because any letter like that would have to come through the board or through some kind of approval through the board. So,
right.
Pushing them.
I'm sorry. So Dan, is the Board of Supervisors aware that we did a survey?
They should be. I don't know how much the other three are because it hasn't really been discussed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Janine, maybe we should talk about this at the next meeting of putting something together for the Board of Supervisors to let them know about it, let them know what other townships are doing and other letters that have been written, and encourage our Board of Supervisors to create such a letter.
Okay, in April.
Okay.
Okay, so, all right. Okay. Thank you.
You never know. Okay. One more letter could tip the balance on things. You just never know. So it's always worth doing it.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
All right. The next one is collaborate with Parks and Rec to initiate Park Partners Resident Volunteer Group. We're moving forward with this, right, Janine?
Well,
no, we're not. No.
Oh.
No, Parks and Rec just doesn't have the will. Kathy Brown does, but it seems that her group just doesn't have the will to work on that issue right now.
Nope.
Okay. All right.
Question about that. I know you and I talked about this. I wonder if you reframed it and just called it environmental community partners and didn't make it about the parks particularly, because it sounds like there are a lot of things that if EAC signed up more volunteers for tree plantings, for meadow things, just to have more people on call to help with manpower on something. Maybe it doesn't have to go as broad as park partners yet. Maybe it could just start with the EAC.
I don't know. I've met with Karen Sweeney and Kathy Brown, and we were going to have a follow-up meeting about this.
Yep.
We decided to table it. Anne, do you want to speak to this a little?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, Kathy ended up with a scheduling issue, and it trying to get 4 people, especially one who's working full time, all together, it's always a tricky thing. So we actually, there really wasn't a way to reschedule that immediately. So we sort of put it on pause for an indefinite amount of time, I guess. But what I was going to bring up at that meeting, and Janine and I have talked about this a little bit too, is that and as she just said, there's not a tremendous amount of interest or will on Parks and Rec, other than Kathy, to work with us or really work in the parks. Quite frankly, I mean, I'm not trying to be mean about it, but I think they see themselves in a different way than we see ourselves. And I was going to suggest at the meeting, although we didn't have it, was to do 2 different groups. Park Partners, something that Karen Sweeney and her assistant can work out, and it would be doing, say, the helping people park for the summer concerts or showing people where the bathrooms are then or wherever. Where our group would be more, say, a green team or something like that, that would be actually pulling out fragmites or picking up branches or
Right.
digging out invasives or planting trees or whatever it is, that we don't try and partner with them on everything, because I just don't think there's the enthusiasm from them on it.
I think that's the way to go, honestly. It's been spinning around round and round with Parks and Rec. I think we should move forward.
Yeah, we've been about 3 years on this now, and there's really been no uptake on it, so.
So I think you're right. I think we stopped trying to force the issue with Parks and Rec. I love the phrase green team.
I
Karen, you mentioned other things that we could be doing, but I think for now, I know that Public Works would appreciate a volunteer group to do certain park cleanup activities, but we just can't seem to get this idea off the ground. So I think we need to keep it as an idea, but not right now. I'm not sure what's next with this, to tell you.
Well, it's difficult. You're right, Janine, with COVID stuff right now, it's difficult there. I mean, people are still a little uncomfortable about working in groups, or maybe uncomfortable until we get past this
Mhm.
chunk of our collective lives. It might be something that just has to go on hold.
Yeah, and maybe in the fall we could address it. Maybe next spring we could address it. I don't want to put it off. I don't want to. I don't think Kathy Brown wants to put it off either, but I think that trying to work with her group is a mistake at this point.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
we've
agree.
tried it and tried it and tried it. It
3
hasn't,
Three
it
years.
hasn't blossomed.
No, it just hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to say real quick about this. Like I put like a an outline of how we can handle this. I think it's just really reaching out to the residents around Central Park, setting up a meeting for them in the fall, like you're saying, once the pandemic is under control, getting them involved, the master gardeners that you've got involved, the Bird Town folks. There's actually a lot of different groups that we already have involved, and just pulling them together and having a meeting.
Good point. And
And
yeah,
having an ask, like have things in mind that you're asking for help on, because if you do the booth at the festival, there's also a way to have a sign up list there for the green team for like mothers and daughters or fathers and daughters, day to have kids and parents out involved in the community. And I think there's a lot of enthusiasm, again, with young people about doing environmental things. So you could have a sign up list and just gather a lot of names and emails from people, and then
agree, that's a great idea.
organize it over the winter for next spring.
and that
And it's
could
not
also
hard.
be part of whatever table events we end up doing this year at the
Right.
Arts Festival and at the summer concerts, and maybe today we start calling it the Green Team.
I think that's great.
That's a good
Okay,
idea.
Maybe that's our contribution. Parks and Rec someday may be doing something different. but
Yeah.
That can
yeah.
be ours. Green Team. Love it. Great.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay, three more things. Collaborate with township staff and board to preserve township-owned lots and open space to create low-maintenance biological corridors and wildlife pathways.
Yep.
We're doing that. We're going to talk about that soon. Explore the tree grant program. We're doing that. And create a Dropbox to archive EAC materials. I think we're working on that as well, right?
Yeah, someday, Aaron, someday I would like to drop everything that I have connected to EAC in the past in your office, and then you and I can sit down and we can say, is this worth saving? No, actually, I can figure out what's worth saving, but it would probably, Kurt suggested that we archive digitally.
Yeah.
And that would be great. I'd love to clean out some of the stuff that I have, but I don't want to throw it away.
I have stuff too, Janine.
There, we've been
Yeah.
on this thing. We've been doing this a long time. Anybody who has stuff that we could digitally save and create an EAC archive, I think that would be something to do. Maybe
Yeah.
not right now, but something to do.
Like
Aaron?
a virtual scrapbook, basically.
Virtual scrapbook. Aaron, do you think we could do that sometime in the next year?
I think there's room for that, yes.
Okay, that'd be fun too. Okay, great.
All right, so I'll put this back into the strategic plan with all the notes that we talked about tonight, and I'm all done with this. So thanks you guys for all the input. Really appreciate it. You know,
Thank you,
Thank
Heidi.
you.
Heidi.
Great. So I
pleasure.
guess one more thing about strategic plans, we should probably decide when to write a new one.
I'm thinking like October, November.
Okay, we'll make it a 3-year plan.
Yes, and start drafting it.
All right, so I guess,
I would say start in October, just because the holidays start coming up. It interrupts people's, it bumps people's lives around. So start in October. And by then we might be able to meet in person.
oh, wouldn't that be something? Oh, so listen, somebody has to remind me about that. So like September or sometime.
Can we put it on the calendar, our EAC calendar?
Yeah,
Yeah.
which we have, right? We have a team up calendar now, right?
We just need to use it. I still have to use it.
Aaron, that's really it's a nice thing, but I'm not sure if I add stuff to it for me, but I'm not sure I'm sharing that team up calendar with other people.
I'll have to check. I honestly haven't been in it very much.
Okay, I love it. I'm using it for myself for EAC stuff. And I guess,
I haven't seen, do we have access to that? I haven't seen that.
am I the only person who has that? It's called Team Up.
No, I believe I sent you, Ann, and Heidi a link to it, but I can reshare.
Yeah, can you reshare? I forgot. I haven't got to it, Aaron, either.
And
I
then
wanted to
Aaron,
put- yeah.
if you would also then instruct us at some point in the future about how we can all share that calendar, then
Okay.
that would be great. And in the meantime, I have to make a note to myself. I can put that reminder to myself on the Team Up calendar about the strategic plan in October. Okay, good. All right. Calendar. Okay, thanks. All right, let's move on. We have so much to do. Thank you, Heidi, for all that.
Thanks, you guys.
Whew, that was a lot. Dear Management, Dear Summit, do we have to talk about that some more?
We already did.
We did. Ready for 100. Kurt, Jim, anything more about that? We have a Bucks County model ordinance. Is that happening?
Yeah, well, there's some big news this month. So the local group, the Bucks County Ready for 100 group, actually was prepared to propose a resolution to the county, and Maggie Rash took it down there, and lo and behold, they had their own resolution, which they passed in February. So the whole county now has passed a resolution committing to the goals of Ready for 100. So
Great.
so that
Where's
was
the publicity. Where's the publicity? Why don't we know this?
well, I put it on the Google group, but
You did.
there should be, it'd be nice if there was a press release, but in any case, so that was unexpected, and that was very good news. This administration has been very proactive. They're getting Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission involved as well. I think we're going to hear more about this. So that was very good news. In addition to that, they have sent around a draft ordinance for the permitting of alternative energy systems. So that includes wind, solar, wood-fired boilers, geothermal systems. But in addition to that, it provides guidance on things like the orientation of new streets to maximize passive solar collection, the planting of trees to maximize passive solar collection. And it includes essentially the Doylestown Green Points Initiative, where you're incentivized to do green things. So you're incentivized to put green roofs or rain barrels, or maybe that's a bad example, but green roofs, or recycling of materials, and so on and so forth. So in some ways it's very good. It is as Kurt said, and I'll let Kurt comment here, it tells you what you could do, but it doesn't necessarily tell you what you must do. So it doesn't provide any mandates or requirements or targets. And some might argue that that's actually what's missing from the ordinance. So I think it's a very good step forward. But we might want to think about, see if we couldn't make it a little slightly more aggressive. I will say, Janine, there was a request, I think it was from Stephanie, that you in particular, or this group, meet with the chair of the Planning Commission to talk about this ordinance, to see if we want to move it on you. I'm happy to be involved in that.
Okay.
so those are the two big things that came out of the county just this month. So Kurt, do you want to comment further on that?
Yeah, I looked through it and I think its intent is good, which is to say, if all of the townships within the county adopted that model ordinance, what it would do is it would clear away some of the inadvertent impediments that are in current zoning and land use ordinances, right? And I encountered that when I was looking at lots to build on, is there are places that they have inadvertently made it difficult to do solar, for example, just because they weren't thinking of it that way. So it in that regard is quite good. I just feel like that would have been a great ordinance for 2005, but we're in 2021 now, and we need to be a little bolder if we're actually going to make some inroads here. So you're seeing around the country places that are simply mandating, if we're gonna build buildings now, residential buildings, they're gonna have solar on them. They're gonna have provision for charging. They're gonna have these things. That's just table stakes now. We're gonna have it. My view is one of the most impactful things we can do at this point is getting better buildings built. The residential and commercial sector buildings are such energy hogs, and we're making painfully slow progress at beefing up building codes to make these buildings better. And frankly, the cost of doing it when you build it is so much less than the cost of retrofitting. So we need to be taking bolder steps now, because we're putting stuff in place that's going to last 50 to 100 years. And retrofitting all those is just going to be brutal. So, should we embrace an ordinance that says, you're going to do this? You're not going to put in oil-fired furnaces anymore. You're not going to put in propane-fired furnaces anymore. This is going to be electric, because if we want to eventually get to 100% renewable, retrofitting all those oil-fired furnaces is gargantuan. Well, let's stop building them. Build houses with actual insulation. Do an R50 in the walls, do an R75 in the roof. This business of put in a 3-inch fiberglass bat, that's 1970s thinking. That's not 2021 thinking. So that's where I felt like this really kind of came up short. It's nice, it's good. I wish it were everywhere. I wish it had been everywhere already, but it's not enough.
But Kurt, let me ask you, what you're talking about though are building codes rather than alternative energy ordinances, right? Is it slightly different?
They are. But the problem is nobody's focused on the building codes.
Right.
Building codes don't change because the contractors don't want to change anything. They want to continue to build 2x4 houses with fiberglass bats.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Well, maybe that's what we should be looking at. Maybe that's what we should be looking at in parallel with these other things.
So it sounds to me like I'm not the person to do this at all. Kurt and Jim, you guys know so much more than I will ever know. Why should I meet with the Planning Commission since you guys know so much? Honest to goodness, I mean, what you're saying, I don't know how to talk that way about sustainable. I mean, all those ideas that you just outlined, Kurt, come on.
Yeah, I'm happy to be jumping in on that. That's no problem.
You're the guy, and I would love to see you meet with the Planning Commission chair. Who is that? Judy Hendrickson, right?
Right.
It is, yeah.
I don't know if you've ever met her, Kurt. She's a perfectly lovely person. And if you guys could get together, Jim, maybe you could join that meeting as well. I'd be glad to be there. I mean, I love to sop up information, but I'm not the person to speak like that about sustainable building.
Does anyone know who some of the green builders are in the county? There must be some people who promote themselves as contractors or builders who are more green oriented to get some of their input as well. I mean, there are
the problem with that, and I went down this path. I tried 3 times to build a zero net energy house. And where you come a cropper in this is you have the people who are putting up the big developments, and they don't want to talk to you. And then you have custom homes. Custom homes, they'll build anything you want as long as you don't want to spend $2 million on it. Well, that doesn't get it. You
There's
need
somewhere in
that $300,000 house with the zero net energy features, not the mansion.
There's somewhere in between. I mean, I'm from California, and the township where I lived, well, the county that I lived in, Sonoma County, and the town that I lived in, they did work on that, and they did work on the building codes, both for the county and for the small town that I lived in. And they did it by talking to architects and to people who wanted to promote themselves as green builders so that they could fortify their presentations with information and data when they took it to the planning commission, or when they were going to put something, on, what's the word I'm looking for, put something in front of the planning commission, or put something, that goes out for a vote. If I don't know if that happens here in Sonoma County, they put everything on the ballot related to that.
Right.
And it caused a lot of conversation. It did. And I agree, there is the high-end homes and the multiples, but there is some ground in between. And they did get a lot of the commercial buildings to then get the ordinances changed so that they had to include more of these things.
Right. And there are here and there builders that are doing some of these things. There's a builder in Philadelphia that is doing some higher standard, higher density buildings, which is great. But that's not what we need. What we need is to say, okay, everybody has to meet at least this. And you can always have your people who want to do LEED, platinum on top of that. That's fine. But you got to get the baseline stuff right, because it's going to be in your energy profile for decades to come. And that's where I think this part of the country is behind. California, which you just referenced, residential solar is mandated now throughout the whole state, period. You have to put a certain amount of residential solar on every house that gets built in California, period. End of sentence.
Okay, what I want to do, well, I want to get a meeting with you and Judy Hendrickson. I'll be there. Jim, can you be there?
I will, well, depends when you schedule it. If I can, I will. During the day, it's very difficult for me.
Okay, but an evening, Kurt, are you okay with an evening meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I have some evening commitments already.
Okay.
But yes, we can find an evening to do it. That's fine.
Okay, I'll put some feelers out. I'll ask Judy what she thinks, and then because I think that this is what we need to do next, probably about the whole Ready for 100 concept in this township. Does that make sense? We have a meeting with the Planning Commission, and thank you, Jim, for reminding me, because that got past me. But I'm not the person anyway. I'm not the one. So okay, great. I'll let you know what I find out when I get in touch with Judy. We'll come up with an
One more
alternative.
question. Kurt, I'm wondering, do you have access to some of what those parameters are that were passed in California? I'm just saying as a resource to start to look at what might be teased out. I just think when you go to a meeting with some data rather than just ideas, it just makes a bigger impact.
Yeah, I can pull it out. That's no problem.
Okay.
Good, great. Well, that's
Hey,
great.
Janine, I just want to point out that it's 8:30 and we're only about halfway through the agenda.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna rush now. Okay, we have I knew we had a lot to do, but let's just rush. Thank you. Okay, so Earth Day is in April, and Bucks County Audubon has an Earth Day event, and we have jumped on that for the last 2 years, I think. I
It's
think
been three or 4 years.
3 or 4. Should we do it again? Yeah, right.
If folks want to do it, I can't personally do it that day to help out with the table event.
What day is it? What day is it?
It's Saturday, April 10th from 10 to 3.
Saturday, 4/10, 10 to 3. All right. I don't know if any of us can actually do something, and what is there to do without having a table event?
Right. We would need a table, and I need to, we need to make a decision about this so I can let them know that we are going to do a table event. Is there anyone that wants to do that?
Where does this happen?
It's at Bucks County Audubon Society on Creamery Road over in New Hope. It's really fun. It's outside. It's going to be all outside with social distancing, of course, in mind. But basically, we usually have like a fun information about birds, bird habitat, sometimes we do a game with birds and people identifying what birds are, and the birds are that's beautiful thing that Janine created. But Kara, are you interested in doing that? Is there anyone else that's willing to
I'm
help
not
Kara?
knowledgeable enough about birds to be helpful to anybody. I mean, I'm a bird lover, but I'm not in conversation about it. But if there were some other people that wanted to help staff it, and I'd help set it up and, you know, do whatever I can. I'm around on that particular day, but I don't think it's something I could take on solo. I just don't think I'm knowledgeable enough.
And I just can't do it this year. I can't possibly do it. I think my mother's moving in that weekend.
Oh,
Ah,
goodness.
My
Well, maybe,
brother
maybe
will
we
be
could-
here that weekend. I
so
can't do it.
maybe we don't do it this year then. I mean, with the pandemic and everything too, maybe it's just as well.
Okay.
Kara, we're going to pull you in on table events, and then, you know, once you get the hang of it, I hope that starts this summer. Then next year, maybe we'll be back for
Okay.
Earth Day. Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
thanks.
I'll let them know.
Okay. Park Volunteers Initiative, we've already discussed that. It's tabled for now. Bucks County Planning Commission Citizens Design Advisory Group. Kurt, are you planning to attend that tomorrow night?
Unfortunately, I have a standing obligation on the second and fourth Wednesdays every month. So I can't, when they do them on Wednesdays, I can't do them.
Okay, well, I'll be there tomorrow night, and I'm not a major spokesperson, but I'll be the Doylestown Township presence. I don't think Tanya can do it. But I don't have to say too much more about that, except that it's an ongoing and changed trail plan. The Bucks County Planning Commission feasibility study of their idea for that trail that began on 611, where Dan took some of us for a walk, and was supposed to follow the Neshaminy Creek all the way over to Route 263. That has been scrapped for now. Instead, they're going to build a 7/10 of a mile trail loop starting on Valley Road, just off 263, which is in Warwick Township. So the whole idea has changed. And there is a Citizens Advisory Design Group, and I'll be at that meeting again. But I'm delighted that the original plan has been scrapped. So,
That's great.
but now there's more work to do, and I'll report on that later.
Yeah, and just a little follow-up, I spoke with Bob Harvey recently, our county commissioner. The idea behind a connecting trail that through central and lower Bucks County is not completely gone, but they have to go back. They essentially have to go back to the drawing board for this segment because just the costs and engineering that would be required in that area, they have to take a second look at, or third look, I guess.
It was going to be a huge environmental footprint. I mean, it was going to be awful. So I'm glad they're rethinking it.
Well, I'm sure Marie is not going to take her teeth off that bone.
No, she will not. No, she's really gung ho about doing it right.
Yes.
Or not doing it at all. Yeah. So you're right. I'm going to rush because you know that we're behind. Okay. Non-toxic communities brochure creation. Heidi and Mel are working to create a brochure. Heidi, did you share that with everybody?
Oh, I did not. No, we met probably about a month ago, maybe twice we've met. I put an outline together. I've done a little bit of a mock-up for a pamphlet. We're going to be talking about that next week some more. Once we have a little bit more information, I'll share with you guys. But we're no longer going to be doing a presentation. We're going to start slow and low and provide an educational pamphlet to start this.
Yeah, and we've also learned that the township really cannot do too much with private groups. We can talk to public. We can make recommendations to our residents, and we can advise. But to try to tell an HOA too much is just not going to fly. So
I think it's really mostly just to focus on education. The focus of this group is to educate.
Yeah. So that and it's moving along.
Photoshop assistants laying that out for printing or something. Feel free to let me know. It's something I'm not perfect at it. I have some proficiency at it, and I've done brochures for other organizations. So
I will definitely call upon you. Erin, is that something that you can help us with at all either?
Yeah, that's definitely something I can help you with.
Okay, great. All right, fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you, Kara. Thank you, Erin.
Heidi, keep talking because you can do a quick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Bird Town, you guys already sent the report to you, but we had 9 volunteers, 40 boxes were cleaned out. John and I moved 9 boxes off the 202 Parkway because of too much noise, and one of the bluebirds almost got hit by a car. I'm working with Dave Tomko to get those bluebird boxes back up. But I've already identified 9 new sites, and I'll be working with him and hopefully in the next few weeks on that. And as far as the citizen science opportunity, that's called Nest Watch. I put an email out to our Birdtown group. I have unfortunately not heard from anyone, but it's a new thing, and I'll be reaching out to you, Erin. Maybe we can put something on Facebook to see if other residents would like to participate. At the very least, I'll do it this year, just do a couple boxes and just, start trying to build this program in our township. I think it's really important to see which birds are using the boxes, how they're doing, and if there's anything we can improve upon. And it's a great program. It's one of the oldest citizen science programs in the country. It's through Cornell. And they take this information to see how bird populations are being impacted by climate change, habitat reduction, pesticides, and so on.
If you do it this year, Heidi, then you'll be the test subject, you'll be the model person, and maybe someone will go and see what you're doing, and,
Sure.
and there'll be greater interest.
Absolutely. I'm doing this with Bucks Audubon. Bucks Audubon's been doing this for years, and I think Soulberry Township is going to be participating as well.
Okay.
So it's exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's it.
Very cool. So township owned lots and open space. Dan, thank you so much for following through on getting that information to us. We have just today, Dan was able to send us some maps and some more information about the township owned lots that could maybe someday, if we keep this alive, turn into mini forests or biological corridors. And this includes, of course, the lot that's by Kara, which is how this conversation began. Ann, Kara, and Dave Tomko and I need to meet, but we have a meeting scheduled for the 18th, and that is with Kara, you, and who else?
I think
Me.
Heidi and Tanya.
It's
think-
okay.
I think it's Tanya, and you asked me to join too. I'll jump on for that night.
Okay, so that 18th meeting, 7 o'clock in the evening.
Okay.
Okay, and I guess somebody has to set up a Zoom, or did Stephanie already do that? Or did somebody set up a Zoom meeting?
I can set up a Zoom meeting for it if you want.
Okay, would you?
Yeah,
Heidi?
I'll do that. I'll send it tomorrow.
Okay, 3/18 at 7 p.m.
Right. Okay.
Native plant demonstration garden. I have 2 requests. First of all, it looks like we have at least 18 master gardeners who are going to show up on March 27th.
Yay.
Wow.
Work at the old section of the garden, the established section, and to begin the expansion by removing a lot of multiflora rose and wineberry. That's our major job on the 27th, but we have so many master gardeners coming. I'm very excited. I've met with Chris Mason. We've got a plan. I have a committee. We have a plan. It's going to go well, I think. But I have a need for some tarps. Would you allow me to buy, with our EAC money, 3 tarps, heavy duty, 12 feet by 16 feet, $47.99 each. With tax, it's going to be a little more than $150. But if we had these heavy duty tarps to work at that garden, we could collect the debris on the tarps. And because I'm going to have so many people there, I'm thinking it would be great to put the debris on the tarp, and then we can just dump it into the trailer. This is Chris Mason's idea. It's fabulous. I've consulted with one member of my committee. May I spend $150 of EAC money on 3 tarps?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of 3 tarps for the demo garden.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you so much. That's going to be great. So I'll work on that. Aaron, I guess I'll work with you on getting that through. I found the tarps. Second request. One of our volunteers, Jane Neal, whom some of you know, has volunteered to keep a chalkboard at the Environmental Education Center updated regularly. What's blooming in the garden? This could become part of the Instagram posting, the chalkboard, and then the photographs. Jane has volunteered to keep that up. I have been in touch with Aaron and Stephanie and Karen. I've sent them all. Aaron, I think I sent you a picture of the one that I'd like to get. It's $38. It's an aluminum frame. It'll fit on one of the two wooden doors of the kiosk down there. The concerns include vandalism and weather.
In
But
fact,
for $38, maybe we could try it. Aaron, what do you think?
it's entirely up to the group here. The concerns that myself, Stephanie, and Karen have all had is kids coming through and vandalizing it inappropriately, or it just walking off completely.
Yeah, I think vandalism has got to be my biggest concern with a easily accessible chalkboard. If there's a way we could prevent or put it behind something to make it harder to access, like you need a key or something to write on it.
I don't know about that. Okay,
Yeah.
let me rethink it. Let me rethink it. Okay, we'll just drop it for tonight. Okay, because yeah, that would be awful. So, I mean, I've imagined the vandalism, and yes, it could happen, but maybe there's a different kind of thing we could use. All right, I'll figure it out. Thank you. On hold with the chalkboard. Okay,
Janine, excuse me for a second. I'm going to need to drop off because I'm up against another call.
okay, thank you.
So I'll see you next.
Okay,
next time.
thanks. I'm sorry this went so long. It's all right. We're going to try to wrap it up. Thank you, Kurt. See you soon. New tree signs, the status of those. Okay. Aaron, you gave me some really good news about this. Would you share it with the group?
Okay, update for the group on the tree signs. I know I spoke about it at our last meeting, and it was a considerable cost that was above what you guys had expected. I've been able to renegotiate the work that Andrea did for that, and so we are going to be getting the two signs for delivered for a total of $766. We're going to be going to a 1/2-inch thick sign, and I'm going to be working with Chris to make the stands ourselves out of aluminum. So this will save us approximately $1,500 on that order. And the signs themselves for the future are about $250 each. And because of the 1/2-inch thickness of the metal, they're still expensive to ship, but it's a lot more friendly.
Okay.
That is awesome.
Isn't that
Well
great?
done.
Yeah. So the tree signs are going to be cheaper, better, all the way around. And now the next step with those is that we have to cite them. So everybody needs to start thinking, where should they go? We'll talk about that again another day, but let's start when you're at the park, take a look. Where do you think these two signs should go? Remember, one of them is trees for humans. The other is trees for ecosystems. And they're beautiful signs. They need to be, I think, where it makes sense for multiple reasons. So just put it out there. Think about where they should go. Again, I'm rushing. Any further comment about the tree signs? Anne needs to get in here. Anne needs to get in here about the tree grant program that she's investigating at Upper Makefield. I had to squeeze it into the agenda next to the tree signs. And
I'll try and keep this very brief. I think all of you, hopefully you all received from me the email that included the application form that Upper Makefield uses for their residents. There's quite a long checklist. That you have to prove that you bought the tree and you spent money on the planting and deer guards and all that. And then you're eligible for up to $81 per tree as a refund. I did speak with Stephanie, we did emails about her thoughts of whether this is something that Doylestown Township could do. She reached out to Upper Makefield's township manager and he said the problem is Upper Makefield is fairly well developed at this point. They're not getting big new developments in. So the pot of money that they were getting from developers chipping in has dwindled. Even though the program was very well received, the residents loved it, they're having trouble now funding it because they don't have a lot of development. We have the same problem in Doylestown Township, where there's not big developments going on. It's sort of, one house here, one house there. And we do not assess a fee to developers for removing trees on a property that they're going to build on. Right now, Doylestown Township requires that they replant. If they take out 10 trees, they need to replant 10 trees on that same piece of property. That has been successful as far as they've had a lot of compliance with that. And so I don't think they're looking to change any ordinances to do that. Stephanie did feel, though, that the Board of Supervisors might approve a line item of $1,000 to do our own tree grant program in Doylestown Township. Doing the math very quickly, if somebody's potentially getting $81 per tree, that would account for 12 trees for our township. So and that's assuming that the board would even actually approve that. So I guess what I'm asking tonight is, do we have an appetite to pursue this with the board? Do we want to not try and move this forward, or do we want to put it on pause and try it maybe when things are a little more flush? I know this is a tough year for municipalities because of the COVID crisis too. So that's my question to you guys tonight.
What do you guys say?
Dan, can you give us some feedback about, the financial situation for the township, and is this feasible?
It's tight. we do not have much money left for things. Can we find $1,000 for trees? I think that's possible. It's not a huge ask. A larger program that has to be funded through the township is going to be a hard sell. Just realistically, what we're looking at the budget in the next, in our 5-year projection, our general fund is, so we've already got some hard choices coming up going forward.
Ooh, okay. Sounds like it's a set aside for now. What do
That's
you?
what I would say. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't see a way the township is gonna be able to self-fund a significant program for that right now.
May I ask how much money you're considering needing for this? I missed part of it.
The board was, what Stephanie suggested was that the board might approve a $1,000 line item for this. That would account for about 12 trees.
Were you hoping for more trees? I'm just wondering if there's some way to do some sort of fundraiser online to see if the community wants to pitch in for it. Are we allowed to do that?
I don't know.
They do, huh?
Like that. I don't see why not.
I mean, they do GoFundMe for all kinds of things. If we came up with a good pitch that we could put on, the Doylestown page or the Doylestown Neighbors United page, I bet you some people would chip in. I mean, we just have to think about how to present it.
Post-pandemic, we could get back to we had a fabulous program we were working on that got canceled called 10 Days for Trees that Ann spearheaded. Maybe post-pandemic, we can consider some kind of program to encourage people to plant more trees. I don't think now is the time, just listening to what Dan said and listening to the numbers here.
Okay.
But I do think that this is something we should pursue. Trees, as we all know, are that critical for so many reasons. But let's bring it up. And 10 Days for Trees may be revived someday. Who knows? Who knows, right?
I don't know.
And that would be a natural addition or substitute or whatever developed for a tree program.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I do think that one of the aspects of Ready for 100 is also to increase the tree canopy. So this does dovetail with that. And it's important to keep that as part of our perspective as we move forward on the Ready for 100 things as well. And maybe that's a better opportunity, is to work through that program. I don't know. That's just something that popped into my head, but that is one of there were sort of 5 steps that they wanted the township to take. And one of them included increasing tree canopy. So maybe as things improve financially, the township could be encouraged to do more investment in trees.
let's discuss this more. When do you think? What do you think? Anne, Kara? When should we pursue
I
this?
think if you're going to do a table at the arts festival kind of thing, or at the summer concerts, I think that's a perfect time to just have a simple little one pager to hand, or half pager to hand out to people with, 6 bullet points of why it's important to plant trees and what the EAC is doing about it. Just
Yeah,
start
I
informing
don't think we
people in a
want to
low
get into
level way.
fundraising.
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure I would want to get into fundraising. I mean, if people are going to put money into a fund, they might as well just buy the tree. You know what I mean?
Well,
Right.
I'm not saying to raise money at that, but I'm saying to just make a one-page thing to start handing out to people at these events to say, here's what your local EAC is doing, and here's what we're encouraging, and here's the reasons why. It's short and simple.
That would be easy. Yeah.
Something tightly focused just about planting trees, a tightly focused little thing. And if you have time, Kara, if you have time, maybe, create something cool.
I'd be happy to work on something like that. Something very simple, half a page is all it needs to be. It can be, printed at home and handed out on a colorful piece of paper. You could start an online thing of people posting the new trees that they've planted. I mean, things like that. I'm not a super online person, but the more I am exposed to it and see the things that people are doing creatively in their communities with it, they sound goofy to me because it's not my generation, but I'm amazed at how enthusiastic people get about, like, oh, I want to make sure I'm in on that. I want to plant trees this fall. I know it sounds goofy, but it does happen, and it happens in lots of communities.
Let's begin there. Let's begin with a simple something or other that we start disseminating out there. So, work on it, and then we'll see what happens.
And I'd be happy to help you out with that if you.
Oh, okay. Or, well, I didn't know if you were doing it or not, but if you want to collaborate, that's fine. Or if you just want to do it, that's fine.
I need a little collaboration because I don't know all the ins and outs of all these programs and things yet, so I'm a little bit blind.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
that'd be fun.
creatively, I'm happy to help.
Let's
Yeah,
make
I mean,
something.
we've
Let's
got
make-
2 tree signs that are going to support this, so we can actually use text from that.
Yeah, there's a great idea. Make it consistent with those new tree signs.
Exactly.
That's a good idea. Okay, so we're on to something. We're not going to do the tree grant thing right now. There's no money, no development, but you know what? That's a great start. We need to encourage people to plant trees. So let's begin with that. Thank you.
Can I just jump in real quick too? And for the 10 days of trees, is that something that we can start, thinking about for next year? Like you did so much. I'd love for that program just to be put in place again for next year. Is that possible?
Oh, I don't know. There was 23 partners on that. I think we need to get through the pandemic before anybody starts thinking about big
Okay.
gatherings.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
just gonna be straight up on that. It was a lot of work and I was happy to do that work, but it's a big ask to do it all over again until we know we're sure we're out in the clear.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Okay, we'll set it aside for now. Invasive plant of the month. Heidi, when you get it done, it'll be on the website. Aaron, Heidi are working on the invasive plant of the month. We're also having a hard copy down at the display case and in the admin building, and it's posted on the Facebook page and the website. And Heidi, you're working on March, right?
I am. It's gonna be on running bamboo this month, so I'll have it up. I'll get to Aaron by the 15th for him to post.
Excellent. And don't forget about those 2 hard copies, one for the display case and one for the admin building in the lobby.
And Aaron, you can provide the hard copies.
Yes.
Okay.
Great,
Fabulous. Follow up, new community center, public participation. Well, Jim put it all in the minutes, $5 million, 12,000 square feet. And our concerns continue to be the environmental and aesthetic aspects of this new building. I don't know if there's much to say tonight. Is there another public meeting coming up?
Well, I would like to ask Dan. I mean, Dan, is this building a done deal? I mean, is it? And particularly what you just said about, you know, the general fund is dwindling, you're making hard financial choices. Is this a sensible time to be building such a large building?
Well, it is a fair question as something that has come up in delaying it potentially for money reasons, and that's one of the things we're discussing in our budget meetings is when does it make financial sense to build something like that?
Right, and you'd have to float a bond for this or something?
Yes. Well, it wouldn't be a bond because of where interest rates are. It would essentially be a loan for that. It would go into our debt services fund.
Okay.
So that's how that would play out. It's in our budget discussions, but I think it's approximately 5 million we have set aside in our budget discussions for it. But as far as when it's actually going to kick off, that's something that's being pushed around a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I would feel, I mean, just for myself now, if this building is basically, if it's a done deal, if people feel strongly about it, you know, I think for myself personally, rather than, you know, just fight it tooth and nail, I would kind of insist that it meets certain environmental standards, right? I would certainly want to see that it becomes an environmental education center. Hopefully, as you know, as the way Kurt was talking earlier about a sort of a zero carbon building where you have a geothermal heat system, heat and air conditioning with you know, which is supplied by you know, solar and you know, and maybe renewable electricity purchase if necessary, native plants, permeable surfaces, and so on and so forth.
I'll
So,
say
I
a
mean,
green roof, maybe a green roof.
Maybe
a green roof.
whatever we can do. I mean, we should look for every opportunity. So I mean, we can fight it, but if it's a done deal, then I think we make the best of it, and we just say, let's make it a showplace for the environment, for sustainable building.
What would be the best avenue to say that, Dan, to the board?
I would suggest maybe a letter to the board. I will say we're considering it. Jen and I are both very strong advocates for exactly that kind of thinking for this. We wish it had been done with the current township building, and for you know what, I'm not going to say anything. for reasons it was not done that way. So we would like to try
that way, Dan, at the public meeting. It was presented as we were going to be LEED without the certification. I was at the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's also discussions about solar panels for the township building. Oh, well, that's not financially feasible. We can't do that. So yeah, that's a whole other thing besides a huge open space that's got to be a pain in the ass to heat. But besides that aspect of it, I know it's been brought up. Obviously, you guys have had a chance to talk to the designers. The designers have been talking to various different groups, supervisors, trying to get all kinds of input in it. So, you know, those will be things we fight for that going forward, and just as part of the design process.
So should we compose a letter from EAC to the board explaining what Jim just said? Because I think we're all on the same page with Jim.
Yeah, I think it can't hurt to do that.
All right.
All right.
Jim, can I ask you to write a letter on our behalf?
I will write a letter, Janine, and I'll run it by you.
And run it by everybody, and then
I'll run it by everybody before the next meeting.
And I would lean towards, just personally, the long-term cost benefits of the possibly short-term higher investment in a more green certified building.
Yeah. Again, I don't know if
pushback you get.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if LEED certification is strictly necessary, but everything that goes into a LEED certified building would be desirable.
Yes, and
I would certainly want it to be basically like carbon free. That would be my bottom line, is carbon free. Yeah. And then, you know, things like native plants and permeable surfaces, I think we can also talk about. Yeah. Let me write a letter and we'll debate it.
We'll pursue that. But I do think, is there any dissent among the group about our writing a letter and presenting it to the board about our concerns about this building and what we would like to see? Are we all
Well,
on the same page?
kind of.
Yeah.
I think if we say, here's the building we want, we're saying we're okay with the building, and I'm just not okay with that. So for me, it's not working. I don't want a building built.
Okay.
Okay, but I guess what I'm saying is if it's a done deal though, if it's a done deal,
Then I guess, but I'm not convinced that it's a done deal yet. I don't know that that's actually true. And Dan, I don't know if the board is aware of the basically really negative input that the last public meeting had.
I know,
They don't want it.
um, so yes, I'm aware the feedback was not great. The problem with local politics and politics in general is usually you hear from the people who feel very strongly one way or the other
Right.
about it. And unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast that we have to weigh with and that kind of thing. I do know I have to go out and find the studies of people for what they want and what they support for it. But yeah, no, that's always the case. You got to weigh people who don't want it with who do and what services we want to offer as a township through it. Unfortunately, that's the nature of being the supervisor.
mhm.
So, well, then let's see what Jim comes up with as a letter. And of course, we won't send it unless we agree that we want to send it. So we'll leave it at that for tonight.
I will say the general sentiment that I have from the board is that it will likely go through in some form. There's some discussions about where it might go, if that location might change and what it will look like, but there is a general agreement that some recreation center should be put in. And some members of the board are pushing very strongly for it.
All right, well, we'll pick this up. We'll pick up this conversation again in April after we have a little time to think about it too. And maybe there'll be more information forthcoming by then as well. And the time is 9:01. So we're gonna have two real quick things and then we're gonna wrap it up. First of all, I wanted to say, isn't it great that the Delaware River Basin Commission, which includes 4 states and 13 million people, ban fracking in the Delaware River Basin. Now there's more work to be done, but I just wanted to say yay, because our EAC, remember just, I think it was 3 years ago, had, we recommended to our board that they pass the draft resolution at that time to ban fracking in the Delaware River Basin. And now it's official. So we were right in there. I just wanted to mention it. I'm very excited. It's a real win for the environment.
It really is. Thanks, Janine.
Finally, Don Richardson's bench is going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
His partner, Bert DeVries, was able to donate the money for the bench. She has a lovely sentiment that will be on a plaque on the bench. And it looks like sometime this spring, it'll be installed near the native plant garden. And I just wanted you all to know that that's actually happened. We're
That's
very
great.
happy about that. Yeah. So,
Good. I'm so glad.
and with that, how about a motion to adjourn? Unless somebody has something else that has to be said. This is a long meeting.
I make a
Okay.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor. Yay.
right.
All right.
Thank you, Jim.
everybody.
Okay, very good. Thanks, everybody.
Lots of
Good
work.
to see you guys.
Thanks.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.
Ann, can you still hear me, Ann?